All right, we're live. What's up, perps? So tonight we have another awesome author on tonight. And if I can make a habit of getting into these guys and getting them on stream, I'll do it. So this is Walt Robillard. Walt, can't get anything wrong here, but you are both the author, a writer, a co-writer for Galaxy's Edge.
Yes.
And then you have some other books on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
you've written in Forgotten Ruin, Galaxy's Edge. Those are, well, I haven't listened to your Galaxy's Edge. Forgotten Ruins, where I found you with Underspire.
Underspire was tight, man.
I love that book.
Clifton Duncan was so good. And I got to tell you,
like
some of the. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, which all parts, because I know, Jason and Nick and all the writing you guys do together, but which parts did you write in Underspire?
So it's going to depend on the book, right? Because like certain of those guys will jam hard on one thing versus another. So depending on depending on what we have going on. So like right now, Nick is crushing or trying to crush Strange Company 3. I just read some of the last chapters today, and I'm like, oh man! But the book is huge.
I can't wait. Yeah,
it's taken him a hot minute to get it together. So, Jason has come in the background and wrote a bunch of stuff, and that happens all throughout the series. They leapfrog over each other, as the needs arise, because their big thing, always big thing for them is readers over writers. So get those, get this stuff out to the people who really want it as fast, but as professionally as they can.
Yeah.
And really just pump it, so that people have a steady stream of awesome just rolling in between their ears, through their eyes or audio, depending on how it is they actually take it in or listen to it.
Yeah, but you got absolutely killing it over there.
Yeah, so like if you haven't seen the cover of Strange Company 3, we lucked out. There's a guy called Coffee and Perspective, Mark Lee. He's out of Australia. We were just jamming on his art, and one of the big things for Jason and Nick is, if we ask somebody a question, the only thing they can really do is tell us no.
Yeah.
So they there we go, share screen. They they approached Mark and was like, hey, can you do some covers for us? And boom, look at that thing. Jeez.
That thing is awesome.
It's legit, right?
That space age H car right there is sweet.
But the other thing too is like the small little details in this that where we really enjoy using Mark. Like so for example, you have the Aces and Eights logo on the magazine.
Dude, I didn't even see that.
You have right here, this is a frog tango. So if you've never served in a military role where you have to do a lot of work around helicopters or climbing. Yeah. This is just a retention leash. It's called a PRL, personal retention leash, or retention leash. The brand name, there's a bunch of them out there, but Frog Tango is like one of the big ones. But you got that. If you scroll, you see, of course, the hot soup right there, which is a big thing in the series. But look at that skull right there on the armor plate.
Oh man!
Like every time I look at this, right, and then of course there's Mark's signature right here. But like every time I look at this, there's something new and fun and interesting, and that's it's kind of like reading their books. Every time I read the books, and I've read Galaxy's Edge multiple times, I've read Forgotten Ruin multiple times. Strange Company I've read twice. You're always coming away with something like, man, I didn't remember that. That's dope.
I mean, you ain't lying, because I'll listen to it. I love listening to it while I'm working and I'm doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always that, in the background. It kind of keeps me leveled out, maybe where I'm not ready to jump on a bell tower somewhere. But it's just like, and then every time I roll back through, I'll listen to them a little bit more and I catch more and more stuff. And it's like, how did I miss, which I know I'm working doing it, but I was like, how did I miss that? We'll get to my kind of plot here in a second with stuff to go through, but because we jumped a little quick there. But what were you like growing up as a kid? Were you always one that wanted to write, or is this something that you kind of figured out later in life that you wanted to do?
So, all my family are immigrants, and English is not easy for me. So, or wasn't easy for me. Still isn't. I mean, I still struggle sometimes. A lot of times I'll have to catch myself doing what I just did because my brain is trying to operate. It's like so. My little bro builds computers. And one of the things he builds all the time is he strips out windows from whatever he's building. Hey, Squirrel, what's going on, man? From the comments.
Squirrel's in here.
One of the things he does all the time, he'll strip out Windows or he'll strip out iOS and put Linux in there. Right now,
damn.
If you've ever worked on those systems, right, Linux is very stripped down, so it makes things run incredibly fast. But it's not native to the system, so there's always a hiccup here and there, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for my language. Before I went to speech therapy as a kid, everybody in my family talk like this. So when people,
where'd your family originally immigrate from?
So my dad's from France, and my mom is from Sicily, Italy.
Oh man.
So yeah, they're from a little town, northeastern part of the country called Catania. And it just, growing up, you just had this like everybody, I grew up in a predominantly Italian neighborhood, but there was some Puerto Rican, there was some Laotian and Cambodian. But the thing was, man, that accent, man, I got murdered. I got beat up so bad because I had a hard time with English. I couldn't speak very well. My accent was terrible. But my grandfather was a smart guy, joined the military to get his citizenship, so forth and so on. And he said, if you want to be taken seriously in America, you have to speak well. So let's get these kids.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Let's get these kids enrolled in speech therapy. Let me tell you, ING for an Italian kid, almost impossible. Right. And granted, I'm only half. I'm a mongrel. So I'm I can't even call myself Italian because, you try to call yourself Italian as an American, you get slapped if you're over in Italy. If you try and, call yourself Italian, but your family's from Sicily, you'll get shot over in Italy. So, I mean, it's one of it's one of those things where, like sounds like ING. Rungus, business, counting in French is pretty funny, because you sound like you're grunting a lot or you got to go to the bathroom. But like, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to get this language down. It was just impossible. And, I'm sitting in these therapy classes and they're like, okay, it's stopping. And I'm like, it's stopping and you couldn't get anything rolling. So like as a kid in the beginning, it was really rough. I always saw cartoons and stuff like that on TV as a way to learn English. So for a little while I was going to school and my teacher was like, yes, he has a learning disability. He comes in and he sounds like a radio announcer because I was like, and Batman goes to the, now I was getting all this from cartoons, but at the same time, it was a way to, learn and build that structure in the language.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. So, it was rough in the beginning, but once I got, kind of got a hold of things, I managed to fall into a fairly traditional group of martial arts folks.
Nice.
And that kept me from getting beat up.
That at least helps.
And then, I mean, as a young kid, I always thought like Kung Fu theater and, like all these things was just wild, man. And you were just, you're watching these people doing these things and their hands were making all these sounds and stuff. And, you're just looking at it like, oh, wow, this is amazing that these people can defend themselves. But then you fight for the first time where you learn a few things and then you like put your knuckles on somebody's nose and you're like, this is awesome. I need to do this all the time. So, I mean, that just sparked a whole lifetime love affair of combatives. And I've been doing it since I was 8. So,
and were you guys pretty much in one place or did you move around or?
No, I stayed mostly in one place. We grew up in Rhode Island for the most part. 5 minutes in Massachusetts, but nobody loves that communist hellhole. So,
Got it.
we came back to Rhode Island, and then at 18, I joined the military, bounced all
Yep.
over the planet, and then I got out for about 10 years. I bounced around as doing some civilian contract work, and then my wife lost her mind because she saw a National Guard place, and she was like, "Oh, National Guard, that looks fun." I'm like, "Oh crap!" So
Not the nasty girls.
she went into the National Guard and immediately got deployed because it was all during the beginning of the GWAT.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine who worked at DoD called me and was like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but your wife's going to get deployed. What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, shit, I can't be in the family support group baking cookies and stuff while she's over there getting shot at. Can you do something for me?" So they lugged me in, and I did enough time to get a retirement and do all the craziness. So yeah.
What did you do in the military? What was your mode of service and all that?
So I was Army. I did infantry for my first 5 years, and then I got out and I did some. I have an affinity for languages. I learned them very quickly. So I bounced around for on and off a couple of years. I went to different places here and there as a training certification specialist. So I took pictures of places that we trained people, and then let them do their thing. And then after that, I went and I did. When I eventually went back in, I went into the National Guard, and I went in as military police because that's what my wife was. And I don't need to prove anything to anybody. So I've done my time of doing all the cool guy stuff. I don't need to. I didn't need to prove anybody. So like doing 10 years of military police was tight because I took some of that infantry mentality and applied it to my guys, and turned out some really top-notch soldiers. So it was legit.
Yeah, that sounds like it, brother.
Oh, it was.
And then,
oh man.
When did you actually start writing?
Because like constantly growing up and constantly chasing the language thing again. Because in the beginning my language was atrocious, but I wanted to speak well because I wanted to make my grandfather proud. So I started chasing everything I could get my hands on as far as like learning language, and a lot of that involved novels. Just started reading everything that was of interest to me at the time. And a friend of mine in homeroom, when I was, I think it was 12 or 13, he's reading this book. It's got this jamming cover. I'm like, "What is that? That is badass." And I said, "Is that a novel? Can I borrow that?" He goes, "No, it's a game. Dungeons and Dragons. Have you heard of it?" I'm like, No. But like, he goes, "Yeah. Do you want to try it with us?" I'm like, I guess. I said, I got Kung Fu when I get home, but no, we'll play on Saturday. Will you come down and join us? And like, that was amazing because it sparked creativity. It got you into problem solving. It got you into all this stuff. But most of all, I had to. What are you doing back there?
Anything he wants to.
Dogs, yeah. My wife and I rescue high-risk dogs that people shouldn't own, and the newest one is trying to figure out why I'm talking to the TV.
What kind of dog is it?
So this one is a German Shepherd dog, brought in from out of the country. He's full breed working police line German Shepherd.
Oh yeah.
This is not a dog you should own. I mean, typical civilian German Shepherd, you're talking 85, 90, sometimes 100 pounds. He is a very thin 131. And he's all black. He's about the size of a wolf. He's, issues. But so I started doing the Dungeons and Dragons thing, and I'm like, oh, cool. And the first couple of years of the military, I took off. I didn't play at all. But I just would soak in anything I could read, get my eyeballs onto, as far as like books, novels, documentaries. And then when I got hurt for my first unit, I transferred over to Fort Bragg, and there were a bunch of guys that were playing over there, and they saw me reading the brand new AD&D second edition handbook, and they were like, "Bro, we play." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, but we're broke, man. We spend all our money on beer and girls, and we don't have any money for books. But you got the new books. If you loan them to us, we'll run a game for you." I'm like, "Score." So, but yeah, man, just rocking and rolling, doing whatever I could to get my eyeballs on anything I could read, and it's still the same way. I mean, I got shelves of books right behind me and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
It's fun times. It's fun times. I'd love to read, especially if it's a good story. And that's Galaxy's Edge, man.
Oh, absolutely.
That Forgotten
Galaxy
Ruin,
Edge, Forgotten Ruin. Yeah.
Oh man, I was hooked from page one. Best opening line ever.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's how my buddy sold me on it. He said, the first line in the book is the galaxy's a dumpster fire. I went, I got to listen to that. And as soon as it hit, it was all through the race.
Best thing about that though was not just that. No, nobody wants to hear you. You want right. Come here.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Say hello to somebody.
Beautiful.
No, do not eat my hand. A couple years prior, I had read Larry Correia's Monster Hunter International, and I thought that opening line was pretty damn tight. Hey, my day started off pretty crappy because I was attacked, but then I got to throw my boss out a window.
My boss turned out to be this thing, and I got to chunk his ass out a window. It was looking up.
But so you kind of had an understanding of what it was going to be when you were reading it. And I'm a huge Larry Correia fan. I love his books. His fantasy stuff's pretty cool, but his Monster Hunter International stuff, man, that's where my jam lies with him.
I think I'm 4, maybe 5 books deep in Monster Hunter. And those books have all been just amazing too. Larry's another guy I'd like to sit around and shoot the shit with.
Do it. Send him a note. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. But when I read the Galaxy's a Dumpster Fire, I was like, wait, what? Why is the galaxy a dumpster fire? I mean, are there problems? Why am I sitting here asking all these questions when I can read the book and figure it out? I'm like, that's a good opening line. And I started reading the books and I'm like, damn, that's legit. So yeah, same thing with Forgotten Ruin.
Yeah,
that was just so legit. And then we started bringing in other authors like Pete Nealon. Pete Nealon. Hi, Vanessa Kitty. Hi, Chris from the 740.
Chris, what's up, brother?
So when we brought in Pete Nealon, I was proofing his books before they were going to edits and stuff like that. And Pete is like one of those guys, former reconnaissance Marine, just a really, really, really concise writer. And he likes to have everything super, super clean, super tight before it goes to an editor. So, we knew we weren't going to have to do too much. So I'm doing the thing and I'm reading the book. And the second book in his series, the Lost series, where it's kind of like Forgotten Ruins, if they were Forgotten Ruin, if it was the Marines.
Yeah. I know the series, as a matter of fact.
Second book has the creepiest horror scene I've read in a book in probably 10 years. And I'm just like, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, hey, did you outdo that scene from book 2 yet? And he's just like, no.
I've got to go back through and listen to it. But yeah, I'm familiar with that series too. Well, I need to pull up my Audible library and just go through all the authors.
Go through them again. And I mean, that's the danger of working with these cats, man. Jason and Nick and the people that they bring into their orbit is you start reading other people's stuff and you're just like,
you can say shit. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings.
Well, it depends, because some of it's shit, some of it's good, but you start reading other people's stuff and you're just like, this isn't holding me like theirs is, I don't feel like, did you see Mad Max with the recent one where the dude is on top of the truck and he's playing a guitar while fire is shooting out of the speakers?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like their books are, and I'm not getting that with other series. So it was like, man. So that was the danger. After coming from a lot of these people, a lot of these book series. And then working for them, it's now I go to read stuff for fun or for whatever. And somebody had just recommended me a series recently, like apocalypse style fiction. And I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be dope and blah, blah, blah. And I've heard such good things. It's got good reviews. And I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. It didn't have that pop that Jason and Nick stuff had. So I was just like,
I think probably one of the best ones I've listened to outside of Wargate, anything from Wargate, has been the Arisen series.
I haven't seen
of course,
that one.
it's all narrated by R.C. Bray. It's kind of a zombie. Well, it is a zombie kind of end of the world themed book series.
Right on.
About a bunch of Delta guys who get mixed in with SEALs, but the books are just absolutely great. And some of the interplay between characters remind me of the interplay from characters in Galaxy's Edge and in Forgotten Ruin. So once it did that, I was hooked. It was like, okay, I'm done. I'm listening
Now,
to this too.
Here's a question for you on this Arisen series. Did they have a researcher doing technical and tactical stuff on the side of the Delta and the Team Green guys, or did they have technical advisors?
I don't know. I think they kind of did, because some of the things they get into, you can kind of tell someone had an idea about, like unit movement. But I don't know how deep they got into it.
Yeah, because that's the thing that'll. I was reading. I have this guilty pleasure, and it's just us and a couple of our friends, so I can get into this, and nobody's going to care. But I have a deep-seated love of Godzilla movies, and like, there's some like cool covers and stuff like that of people like doing kaiju style books, and I'm like, yes. And every time I get to a part where there's a military guy, I'm immediately turned off. I'm like, I can tell you did no research on this. You didn't talk to anybody in the military. You've never even seen a firearm before in real life, or even done any research on it. Because let's call a spade a spade. The greatest military writer in the 20th century never served in the military. And when he was questioned by the CIA as to where he was getting his information, he pulled out a library card because he was an insurance adjuster. It's like, you can do the research, make it sound legitimate, make it sound authentic, and just kill it. You know, Tom Clancy never served a day in the military, insurance adjuster, was questioned by like all these cats. And it's like, no, I started in the library, and when that only brought me so far, I went to the media relations people at Fort Bragg and see if they let me talk to some guys.
Yeah.
Done.
And so, you know, I never served. Hell, I was too messed up to even serve by the time I was 18. But when I hear people describe weapons in a book, and they actually get into describing like manipulation of the safety, different reloads and things like that, you can tell when someone's actually looked at it. And you can also tell when they never describe the safety, they damn near never describe a reload.
Well, you got
locking.
You got an AK style platform, it looks like, on that back wall.
Yeah. There's a couple of those back there. Those are ones that I built.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's legit, bro. But like, you got an AK style platform in the back, and you know, you get cats who will come in there and start writing, and they're just like, oh, blah blah blah, and then he reaches over to the left side of the gun, and he put. First of all, you called it a gun. Secondly, you said he reached over to the left side, and the charging catches on the right
side. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, bro, come on. Or a Glock safety, you know, was a big one. You know, you're just like, come on.
Yeah, I've heard that before too.
You know,
it's just painful. It's like watching some of the TV shows, though, because some of the TV shows are so ridiculous with it.
One of the kaiju books I was reading, there was a scene where a guy was trying to get away from these like agents, and he like hit one over the head with you know, those metal trash cans we used to have in school when we were kids.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
He hits him over the head with the small little wastebasket and knocks him down and picks up his gun. And he pulls back the slide and then pulls back the hammer, and then he starts describing it, and I'm like, this is a revolver. What slide is he pulling back?
Yeah,
you know,
a revolver with a slide I'm not aware of. I mean,
there are some things you can overlook, you know, but like, man, come on, do a little bit of research.
Yeah,
you know?
There's one or two parts in the Arisen series I kind of had to overlook, but it wasn't any like weapons handling or something like that. It was one guy stabbing his knife through like the cylinder on the back of a forklift. I won't explain the whole scene, but like stabbing his knife through the side of it.
Through a propane cylinder?
Yes.
He stabbed his knife through it. And that's when I was like, yeah, file that under things that would never happen. But
The rest,
Did
the
he have a
rest of the
hammer?
stuff is pretty good, but and it was a good scene in the book. But that one thing caught me, and I was like, oh, "Come on, I'm already like 8 books into this."
Yeah. So I mean, and that's that. Oh man, that's the fun that you get out of Jason and Nick, man. They go in and they research a whole bunch of stuff, and I mean, that's probably my favorite part of writing is doing like a lot of the research. You know, some of the stuff that we've done. So I mean, when
it shows in you guys' books.
I mean, like when I did Call Sign Valkyrie, we wanted to show that these guys. So Call Sign Valkyrie is part of the Order of the Centurion series, which is like Galaxy's Edge's Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wanted to do something to honor John Chapman because his videos were making the round. You know, the first Medal of Honor citation where it
was on video.
The event was videoed, right? I mean, so I was like, man, that's dope. And one of my friends from my first unit had left and gone into the Air Force and had become a pararescueman. So I called him and I said, hey, I got this thing where I have an opportunity to write a book, but I don't want to do you know, X, Y, or Z because they've already done it. But I want to I kind of want to run at the PJs. Can you give me a hand? And he's like, oh, what's the matter? Army no longer cool for you? I'm like, Dick, you gonna help me or not? Right. So he was like, he was awesome. And he is the character that the main character is based off of. And just an awesome dude. And he hooked me up to a lot of people because I was like, all right, so the first scene, I want these guys to be seen as rescuers first and fighters second. Can we do like an underwater scene, like, you know, like a rig that gets whatever? And he goes, well, what about this? And he starts going into this thing, and I'm like, dude, have you actually done this? He goes, no, but we train for it because it's one of the tasks. So like, if you get something like the internet where you have, you know, a lot of it can be pushed through satellite, but we have massive transatlantic cables, trans-Pacific cables, like all these areas where cabling is a thing down on the ocean floor for a variety of reasons. And in the beginning of the book, these guys going down to service one of these cables get in trouble and they get stuck. So they're going deep diving to go whatever. So I got to talk to deep sea miners and like hear about their process, how they use, you know, what they use for tools, how they deal with deep sea pressure and like how they come up and how they go down. And it was just, they were like, dude, do you have any time between when you're writing? Because like, come to Florida. We have the deep sea lab down in Florida. If you can swim, we'll take you. I was like, this is bad. I want to go to the deep sea undersea lab in Florida. Yeah, let's do it.
Is that oh god, I can't remember the name of that school down there.
It's in the Gulf Coast. It's for people who do deep sea research, deep sea mining, deep sea cabling, so that they can get used to in and out of moon pools, how to deal with pressure, how to depressurize, how to use depressurization systems. I mean, it was
that's not the one I was thinking about. There's another school down there for underwater welders, and they got to go through a lot of the same processes.
Yeah, so they probably use the underwater lab there. Yep,
they very well might.
And I was like, man, this is badass. But like, all these guys would jump on the call. Like I'd call one guy in the beginning of the week, and like it was supposed to be a 20-minute call because I don't want to bother these guys. You know, they have a life. I need to know the culture. I need to know some of the aspects, right? But like, homie's sitting there and he's like, oh, hold on, this guy wants to talk to you. And this guy would jump on and talk to me for another 30 minutes. Oh, wait, we got our medic right here. You need to talk to him too. And it's just like, I mean, a half an hour phone call turned into 3 hours.
Yeah,
and
it
just
can
everybody
easy.
just sharing their time. And it was legit, I mean, like you get to, as a writer, if you have to do some research, you can get into some pretty wild stuff.
And I think I already know the answer, but how close is their culture to like military culture? The dark
Um,
humor, all that kind
oh,
of stuff.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you see a lot of this stuff when you're reading it or you're watching it on TV. And it's like somebody comes up and they're like, "Sir, reporting a sword, sir." And the guy he's talking to has stripes on his sleeve instead of being an officer. And it's
Yeah.
like, bitch, who are you saluting? And why is your hat on inside the doors? You're not reporting to an officer. And why is your hand up? Not but like they think that that's what military culture is, instead of poop and fart jokes, being drunk, and having your buddy hold you up in formation so that you don't fall over at roll call. Like all this jazz.
It
And it's
translates really well to construction humor too, because we're
oh,
the same.
it's the same thing. And if you've ever worked with like the engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, or the Navy Seabees, or any of those cats, it's the same thing. It's the same humor. And it's like when a set of ears comes and sneaks behind you in the camera, what are you doing, doof? You see those ears? I mean, come on.
I see him.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of humor, the same kind of culture, and it's how you cope a lot of times.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, especially military, you guys are going through a different set of stresses, but you take a lot of guys and put them in a stressful situation, whether it's work or, hey, we're doing something that's going to be dangerous today. Don't fall off of this. You make sure you've got lanyards. It's going to be the same humor. The jokes might be a little different, but it's the same humor.
It's the same humor.
It's the same culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the great part about Jason and Nick and working with Wargate. A lot of that translates into the books.
How did you get hooked up with Wargate? How did you meet Jason and Nick?
So I started reading the books 2017. 2018. Started reading the books. In fact, I loved the first book so much, I immediately signed up for their insider program. Right?
Nice.
So at the time, you paid $10 a month, and you got the chapters as they wrote them, and you got like they did like a weekly podcast. It was pretty tight. So 2018, I had gone for one of my black belt tests and broken my face. So my nose has been broken a bunch of times. So this time when I took the test and I broke my nose, they were like, yeah, we're going to have to do some major surgery on your face to fix this. It's still crooked. But, oh yeah. I was in rough shape. My nose was like over here. It was bad.
Oh, you got what lick put that on you?
Oh, that was in my
elbow? Was it a knee strike? Was it an accident?
No, it was a pretty good like straight up right up the middle punch. And I had been punching and kicking for 2-3 hours. I mean, my hands were lead weights down near my waist. I couldn't block anything. And they told everybody, like, look, this guy's going for like, this is not his first black belt, not his first black belt test, but he's in his 40s. Please don't punch him in the face. But I'm like, whatever. I'll fight anybody. I don't care. This kid came up on the mat and just thunder humped me. So I was like, oh, we're playing that game, huh? And I picked him up, body slammed him, and that, and then they had to pull me off him, and I was just like, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not done. They're like, no, we're not stopping you because you're being vicious. We're stopping you because you're bleeding everywhere. And like they show me in a cell phone, and like my face is just gushing blood. And I'm like,
man.
I'm like, you got any tapes so we can keep going? And they're like, no, dickhead, you need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, it's not a cut, buddy. This is
yeah. So I had just had my face repaired. Galactic Outlaws had just come out, and I was sold on this series.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'm listening to their podcast. My face is in like a sling, and I'm just like, this is legit because they actually captured the culture.
Yeah.
Right. They captured what it was like to sit in the back of a Humvee and bitch about the people next to you, even though you'd give your life willingly to save them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is legit. So I was like, I had been in publishing 15 years at that point. I have a company where I publish role-playing games. So yeah. So I was like, we're already doing podcasts for other stuff. I'm going to do a Galaxy's Edge podcast. So I start doing the stuff, and I'm like, this is awesome. Jason and Nick, I got them on the podcast a couple times. I got them on some of the other podcasts a few times, and I was like, oh man, blah blah blah, right? And then at the end of 2018, my mom died, and they were the first ones in my DM. They were like, bro, we are so sorry. What can we do? They sent flowers to the funeral. They called every day. I'm nobody. I was just some goofy guy running a podcast. And they were treating me like family. I'm like, I don't care what anybody says or whatever happens from here on out. These are my guys, right? These guys are tribe, right? Because like I said, and I'm not the only person they've done it for, and not the first person they've done it for. People will call them routinely and be like, hey, listen, I just want you to know I just lost so-and-so, but I'm a truck driver and I listen to your books. And every time I get on the road, when I think my life is going to hell, I hear about what Tyrus Rex is going through and suddenly everything's good, And it's like, damn, these guys are legit, right? So, this is going and going and going. And I'm like, I used to love writing as a way to practice English. I could do this, but I didn't want to bother Jason and Nick. They were being very generous with what they were providing for the podcast and like all this stuff, treating me like family when my mom died. I mean, I didn't want to bother them. Yeah. So I went out, I wrote 3 books. I learned everything I could about the industry. At the time, I was dealing heavily with a bunch of people called Keystroke Media, who were a bunch of writers who got together and kind of supported each other. I learned everything I could from them. I learned from the 20 Books crowd. I learned from other writers who didn't like the 20 Books crowd. I learned from these guys, those guys, everything I could, just like learning English, anything I could learn to teach me about writing, I soaked up. And, and even Nick was doing this thing, like Hurt Words or something like that, where he was teaching people about writing every week, but, I got into it and I'm just like, all right, here's 3 novels. Now I got to get them edited. I got them edited. And I started approaching publishers. I knew I didn't want to go to the big publishers though. I just wanted the small guys, right? Because I didn't want to deal with the bullshit that those big publishers, go through. So I eventually ended up with Athon Press, and they got this great cover, which was amazing. And there's a story behind that I can tell you off air, but I can't. It just
now is it Mongrel Hunter?
Yep, Hunter's Moon. Yep, and the first book is the Mongrel. Yeah. The basic premise was, what if John Wick was a Jedi?
That's a hell of a premise.
I mean, this is a guy that he was half human, half alien, and he was adopted by like this kind of like Jedi sort of order that they're kind of like special investigators, and then his mentor is killed. And like the idea is family something that's in your blood, or is it something you can build? And if that's the case, how far would you go to get back at the person who tried to strip that from you? And it did all right. It wasn't a a huge monetary success, but at that point, Jason and Nick called me, and they're like, hey, we gotta, they sent me a note, and they're like, hey, we gotta talk. And it just had that tone of like, oh shit, did I screw something up?
Am I in trouble?
And they're like, hey, first we want to congratulate you. It seems like you sold a novel series to such and such and such and such. Is there a reason you didn't come to us first? And I'm like, yeah, because I didn't want you to publish it. And they were silent, like, bitch, what? So, I said, well, look, here's the thing. I said, I will eventually pitch and stuff like that and come to you and say, hey, listen, I would like you to publish this thing for me. But before that, I need to learn process. I wanted to learn the ins and out, every single piece of this process before I even got to you. So that way, when I showed up to your door, I wasn't the kid who wasn't descended from Buddhist monks waiting out in the rain for, 30 days for you to say, yes, my son, you may come in and learn the Kung Fu. I would already have some manner of skill, determination, and product to show that I have the skill to do this. And then I could approach you. But I wanted to do the first part on my own so I could learn the process myself, soup to nuts, get it done in one go. I said, plus you guys were cranking out books, doing all sorts of things, making deals. I did not want to bother you with my initial clumsy attempts. And he's like, well, it couldn't have been. They were like, it couldn't have been too clumsy. You sold 3 of them, So it was like that, neither here nor there. I said, but when I eventually pitch you guys, I want it to be something, A, you're not going to be able to say no to, and B, that will be worthy of the esteem I hold Galaxy's Edge. I don't want to serve you guys crap because you guys mean a lot to me. And they were like, oh man, that kind of makes it feel a little better. So forth and so on. Hey, hug the fam.
Yeah, that's my little girl.
So, but yeah, I mean, they came through and they were like, okay, yeah, we can understand that, but then, shortly after, they're like, why don't you stop screwing around and just come work for us? I was like, seriously? They're like, yeah, just come work for us. We have this, and this you can do. Just come work for us. I'm like, okay. And then I started supplementing while I was working for them doing company stuff. I was also supplementing my income ghostwriting for people. So right now there's several dozen books out there right now that have people's names on it and not mine. But I mean, that's how I used to.
How is it ghostwriting for something like that? Considering they're gonna get the credit for it, but that you're the one who took the time and put the effort in to write it.
So you can't really see it. I'd have to angle my camera back there, but there's a dice show on my wall, right? So the Japanese swords that were initially used by samurai back in the day. Now you see all the movies and stuff like that, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're so honorable and Bushido and stuff like that." That's all bullshit.
Yeah, right? A lot of it is, yeah.
So the samurai would never do anything unless they expected to be vastly paid, right? And that's kind of the way I run it. If you want me to write a book for you, here's the rate. This is what I turn in, and this is what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
If you pay that and the check clears, we're good. You put whatever you want on it. You say Elmer Fudd wrote that book, rock on. Hunt those wabbits. But at the other side of the coin is, as long as I get paid, I don't need my name on it. I know I wrote it. I don't care. But like, for a while there was a way to keep the lights on while I was doing this full time, and it was like, yeah, man, rock and roll, cops and robbers, Dunkin' Donuts, let's do this.
How long you've been actually writing full time?
Full time? 2021. 2021 full time.
Just after the initial kickoff of the coup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So, dude, but yeah. Yeah, that's about when I started full time. And like I said, Jason and Nick have been awesome as bosses because everything was honest and open and upfront. It's like, what do you need to come work for us? I need this. Now in the beginning they were like, it's a little too steep, right? Because I had a full career prior to doing this, so it was like it wasn't just the military. Like I had a full career where I was making really good money. So like, just taking a hit, I was willing to take a little bit of a hit, but I didn't want to take a huge hit, But eventually, Jason and Nick, were motivated to have me work for them, and I'm like, and we all worked it out, got together, worked out a system where, I would be working for them, X amount of time, doing ghostwriting X amount of time, and then eventually they were like, yeah, don't do that, just come work for us full time, and it eventually just crushed, and now we're doing the cool stuff. It's pretty wild. Hey, Kentucky Squirrel, good to see you back again. He's talking about one of the characters of my first series. It's a robot that does not act like a robot.
I figured he was going somewhere with it.
Yeah.
But saying some robots better than DDOW, come on. I ain't read the books yet. I ain't listened to the books yet. But that's a pretty damn high bar.
So he's very kind. He's a really nice guy. Man. One of the guys that was proofreading for me when I was originally selling that first series, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I just want you to know I almost got into a car accident. It's all your fault, fucker." I'm like, "What? What did I do?" He goes, "You know that program you gave me that reads the files for you so that it, you don't have to read them?" Well, I was listening to it in the car, and yeah, they would be best buds. He's like, I'm listening to it in the car, and then I get to the name of that stupid robot. And the way he came about the name and how he announced himself, I laughed so hard I couldn't keep my eyes open because I was laughing. And I'm like, awesome. And he's like, you almost got into a car accident. And then later, when I was writing book 2, I had the best comment from an editor I'd ever had. And she's like, this is not a technical glitch or a problem that needs to be fixed. I just want you to know this. Your main characters are terrible people, and I hope they fail. I printed it out. I framed it. It's right over there. Like, yeah. Because once again, it's like John Wick in space. Yeah. So they're not supposed to be nice people. So no. Is what it is. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that series helped me learn the skills that I use now and help me be a better writer. When I do stuff for Jason and Nick, like right now, I'm doing technical and tactical write-ups, as well as outlining and kind of like storyboarding for the new series we got coming out. That's based off the Order of the Centurion book.
Okay.
So we're doing a full. They sold it, and managed to get it as a full series. And they're going to be taking over primary writing duties. I'm just doing like a lot of the background stuff. And it just, I'll share my screen so people can see it. This is coming. This is supposed to be coming out in April, but there was a problem with scheduling.
I've been hearing about that. Wreck jumpers.
Yeah. So these are the guys that are the the rescue specialists, for the Legion. So amazing cover. Amazing. First book went through like a lot in terms of research. Editing, back and forth between Jason and Nick. So yeah, it's legit. So that should be coming out fairly soon.
Yeah, you guys writing together, because all of you seem just like amazing dudes. And it seems like you guys could hit a rabbit trail where you guys' brains bouncing back and forth. And there's no telling where that shit's gonna go.
It's funny because like I keep these like these digital writing tablets all over the place in my office, around the house. I got one pinned to the fridge, and it's like, because when we talk, somebody will be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
Hey. So hi, Walt.
Hey, nice to meet you. So yeah, like when we start talking and getting rolling on ideas, it's crazy. So what's your shirt say, homie?
What's your shirt say again? Because Daddy read it this morning, but Daddy's a squirrel and forgets. Here. Oh, you're not gonna stand up?
Snack attack. There we go. Cool deal.
There it is. That was it.
What's his favorite snack?
Mac and cheese.
My
he
man.
is a mac and cheese worst nightmare.
Have you ever
had that and chicken tacos?
Has he? Yeah, my man. This sounds like my kind of guy.
Oh, he's yeah.
He has he ever had grilled mac and cheese?
Yes, he has had grilled mac and cheese once.
Man, that's my
Don't
favorite.
do it often. But this boy literally, and it's been about a year ago. We had made chicken tacos one night. Me and him got up, I think Saturday morning. I was like, man, what you want to eat this morning? He said chicken tacos. I was like, we're running it.
Legit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love tacos. No, I just had this great Mediterranean meal, and I'm just like, now I need tacos.
Ooh, what'd you have for the Mediterranean meal?
My wife's on a special diet because my wife's a cancer survivor, and
Okay.
we gotta keep her healthy and keep her living and running, and especially with, like I said, we rescue high risk dogs that people shouldn't own. So we have the German Shepherd. We have we have a dog that's used to be a bait dog for a fighting ring that we rescued.
Oh man.
Yeah, they tore her up, man. But she's good now. She's a good dog. And then we have a Belgian Malinois. So have you read Madame Guillotine?
Yes.
So the dog in that series is based off my Belgian Malinois.
Now, the dog in Madame Guillotine is actually the one who shows up as Bubbles. In oh god, I can't remember the book. It's one where Matt Raven goes down.
Yep.
But yeah, that went from Bouncer to this to that, and then Bubbles.
But is that the same dog?
It has got all the dog tags and a bunch of tattoos.
Is it? But is it the same dog? So, but yeah. So I used to work with military working dogs. So that's how we ended up with all these weird, crazy dogs. Because and my wife is a veterinary nurse, so we have the ability and the faculty to handle these kind of animals. But we eat we try to eat very lean, eat very. I mean, I don't look like it. I'm built like a whiskey barrel, which does help me on the jiu-jitsu mat, by the way.
So that's like what's his name in Forgotten Ruin.
Oh, Soprano.
Oh, yeah. No. It wasn't Soprano that was built like the whiskey barrel. It was
Sergeant Joe.
I'm going right. Yeah, Sergeant Joe. Yep.
You know who Sergeant Joe is? He is. He was my first squad leader.
Oh man.
And then let me tell you, he thinks that all this book stuff is like the nerdiest bullshit. But like he'll walk into his kitchen where his wife and his two daughters are, and like Joe is my age now. He's in his 50s. And he'll throw that book of Joe that he's in on the thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty much famous." All right. And his wife will bust his balls, and she's like, "Yeah, but didn't they also make you Mexican?" He goes, "Just made me more interesting, bitch." And he walks away. Because he's from Georgia. He's not.
That was Joe in the Forgotten Ruin series had to be the most squared away dude that was ever put in a pair of combat boots.
Man,
I mean,
when I tell you now, here's the thing that people don't realize when Sam of Anarchy, you are correct. Yes. And Run Gun Business, I have a blue healer and two of her puppies. Dude, that's legit. I need pictures. So that's the thing people don't realize about like guys like Joe. Like when I met Joe, I was 19. He was only 22. And it was like this guy was so squared away and so like into it, but like he had all these sayings that programmed everything into you. And Nick calls me one day and he's like, "Hey, you know that guy Joe that you keep talking about that was your first squad leader?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I need all the sayings." He's like, "What did you call it? Like the Book of Joe or something like that?" I said, "Yeah, we used to bust his balls." Like, "Oh, look out. He's reading for the Book of Joe again." And he's like, "Yeah, I need all those sayings." I'm like, "What do you got going on?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. Just give me."
That is
and all
awesome.
those. those are all the sayings from when I came up, like, what do you call it? He would say like all this crazy stuff, and he'd be like, bro, the first time I ever got to work, I got out of the selection course to get into my unit, and then I show up, and they're like, okay, here's what we need. We need you to. We're going to square away your gear, and then tomorrow we're going to go for a walk because you got to go get your like in dock. I'm like, what? So I'm thinking, oh, they're going to take me like to a training area and they're going to, haze me or some crap like that. No, it's not what happened. They brought me over to the airfield. We got on a helicopter. We went out, the whole squad, not just me. We went out 80 clicks, so 50 miles, and we walked back.
Now, which base were you on there? Were you guys down on Benning or what?
We were on Benning, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like I learned more in that 3-day walk about leadership, being a man, and being a responsible member of a community than I have learned in the rest of anywhere else in my life. And that includes martial arts and whatever. And like those things that he says, like even today, I say them to other people when I'm training or when I'm doing whatever. And it's like, like somebody was talking to Nick the other day and they were like, oh, I could never be a writer. And his comeback for that is, you're right. Because you don't believe you can. Yeah. And Joe's kind of like take on that was like, you would say something like that, like, oh, I don't think I can make that climb. And he would turn around and grab you by the straps of your LBV because, it was before armor and shit.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, listen, man, only thing stopping you is you. Get up that cliff, and you're like, huh, well, I guess I got no choice because he's going to kick my ass, So like, and like all those different sayings, my favorite though, and, I can quote it, despite anything while I'm, like I could take a weapon apart and quote the 3 rules of a recon man, and it's so easy because he would say it all the time. Look, rule number 1, don't get caught. Rule number 2, if you get caught, kill everybody till you're not caught. Rule number 3, if you can't kill anybody, run a fade, disappear, and then show up. 2 years later, when they're in line for the taco truck, and knife them in the spine, step over the body and look at them and say, I want a burrito.
That's hysterical because that is pretty much verbatim.
And it's like, that's the way he was, and he would say stuff like that and you'd laugh your ass off. But 2 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years later, I mean, we're talking, I met Joe in 1991, 1990. That's what, 30 years?
Yeah.
I can quote that thing like nobody's business, or, he would just say the wackiest things and it would stick in your head. But like when everybody else would hear him, they'd be like, oh, look out. Here comes the book of Joe. He's pulling it out. He's reading scripture, boys and girls. Everybody get holy, Sam saying that getting into martial arts was the best thing he's ever done. What martial arts do you train? But like, I mean, yeah. So yeah, as far as like, bringing it back around, as far as like Nick and Jason and like working with those cats, they are really, really, really invested in their readers. They're invested in the people they deal with, all
their
the time.
after action reports, you can tell that when they're talking to readers in the after action reports and going back and forth with everybody, and some little teaser there, some little teaser there, little tickle there. They are definitely in with the fans, man. That's why it was so trippy to talk to Jason the other night because I've been listening to this dude since hell, when did my buddy get me hooked on Galaxy's Edge? Like 2022. So I got to binge a bunch of it, and then I got to the point where I was waiting for books, and it was killing me.
I know. I can sympathize because like here I am, I work for them. I'm like, hey man, you got any of those chapters?
That's about the way me and my buddy were talking the other day, scratching like an addict. Hey, you got any more of that Galaxy's Edge going?
Right. Oh my God.
Next month, the audio book for the second book of this season for Galaxy's Edge comes out. I can't wait for that.
Oh, you talking the re-releases?
No. Oh God, what's the name of the book? It came out after Wanted. So Wanted came out for the audiobook a couple months ago. Betrayed, yeah.
Betrayed.
That's what it is. So
yeah,
that comes out on the 11th of next month. So.
That's the curse of being these guys, right? Because and you hear Jason and Nick tell the story. It's Jason who will tell the story, and he's like, "Yeah, 1 minute I'm contemplating selling one of my cars so that I can make my mortgage to support my family."
Yeah.
And the next minute I'm paying everything off because Legionnaire took off like a rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And like the problem now is people will watch them do stuff. And yeah, no problem, Run Gun. Like, dude, he sent me some pictures of his dogs. That's legit. I love healers. Just smart as hell.
Run Gun's another good dude, man. Which
he's
usually anybody rolling my tracks, really good dudes.
That's
solid.
legit, man. But like, so the danger is like when you get a narrator, these cats get a narrator, all of a sudden, everybody wants them now, you know? So it's like we had a problem at the end of season 2. KTF 1 and 2 was supposed to be a lot bigger, but RC Bray was having troubles with his voice and scheduling and all this stuff, and we just couldn't get him. And it was like we had to cut X number of pages out of these books that nobody will see unless there's a special edition. Bug Jason and Nick on Twitter. So Bill,
that's easy enough.
Yeah, that's easy enough. But like those pages aren't going to come out because we couldn't get the narrator to do it. You know,
I will say this: if some of those pages don't come out, I still have hope. Wildman's still out there. We'll get Wildman back up on his feet, patched up.
Hell yeah.
And we can get him kicking again.
Wildman's a shit, dude. And you know, it's great the amount of talent that we have. So like if you after the third book in Pete's series, The Lost, we knew we needed a regular artist for his covers because we were having trouble like locking people in. And he had a good working relationship with Jeremiah Humphreys. And Jeremiah Humphreys came in and started doing his covers. And Jeremiah's got some seriously legit skill. And he starts goofing around, and he does this amazing picture of Tyrus Rex in half his armor, like holding the hand cannon ready to clean it. We're like, dude. And then the next thing he does. Yeah, you can find it. It's out there. I'll look for it. The next thing he does is a picture of the wild man on the gun. And there's the ghostly image of his wife and child behind him. And it says, and she's just like whispering, "Do another one, babe." Right. And I saw that image. I'm like, I hit him up on FaceSpace. I'm like, bro, I got chills. He's like, does chills relate to coin? I'm like, that's not my call to make.
Yeah. I can point you in the right direction. But
where do you, nope, out. So like, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's amazing the amount of talent that this brings in, and the reader participation, you know, in terms of art and you know, all sorts of craziness. Can't tell you how many times people will be like, so yeah, when are we getting our Galaxy's Edge role playing game? It's like, bro, I'm one guy. There's only so much I can do in the course of a year, you know.
Dude, I want like a full color picture book with all the different ships in it, with all the different armor in it. Dude, yeah.
So Sam's got a question. Sam's got a question. He said, "What styles of martial arts did you train in or still do?" That's a long answer. I've been training for 45 years. So the short answer is I started in Shirinji Kempo, which at the time I was training as a young kid, it was actually the fastest growing religion in Japan, not just the fighting style. Yeah. I then went into, I managed to bribe my way into the man who ran that program, his wife. She is the recipient of a kodo, an old Japanese martial art. So I managed to do that. Then when I was in the The military, I of course did. I joined the boxing clubs, and I joined the wrestling clubs, and I did wrestling as a kid. But then my roommate was from the Philippines, and he's like, "Hey, if you show me that karate, I'll show you my stuff." And I'm like, "I've never even heard of what's it called again?" He's like, "Oh no, trust me, you'll love it." So I started doing Filipino martial arts, and then when I got out of the military, I did Bruce Lee's martial art, Jeet Kune Do or Junfeng Kung Fu, depending on which camp you're in. And then, of course, later on, I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. These days, I mostly focus on boxing, wrestling, and then Filipino martial arts, just because they're the most practical for what I do and the way I still train. So like, you get a lot of guys out there and they're just like, yeah, I'm pretty much a master now. I'm just going to stuff my thumbs in my belt and stand on the side of the mat and just nod a lot. And it's like,
isn't the Filipino kind of like a dirty boxing in a way? I mean, it's a lot of different strikes.
So the question that you're asking, you need to apply to a specific target. So, there's probably 30 different types of martial arts in the Philippines.
Oh wow, did I know
it's very diverse. So depending on what you're talking about, yes. But depending on what you're talking about, no. So like when I went over there the first time, I went over there with some friends, and we were going to stay with their family. And I was, oh man, you sure they're not going to care if I train with you guys? And he's like, no, because they had their own family martial art, right?
Yeah.
I was going to be the first outsider outside the family to learn it.
Oh, wow.
And now, granted, this is not like some magical, like I could float on moonbeams and shit arrows or something like that. But it was just nice that somebody was trusting me. It was kind of like how they see it is kind of like I grew up without a dad, like having that one kid who being like, oh, you're really having a hard time throwing that baseball. My dad is really great baseball coach. Come train with my dad. That's kind of how we saw it. So we go over there, and the first thing he does is he goes, okay, we got to clue you into something. First of all, take this. You got to carry this wherever you go. And he hands me a big ass fucking pocket knife. And I'm like, okay. He goes, okay. Take a look at that guy and tell me what you see, right? And I see this guy reading a newspaper. Now, I just started learning Tagalog. Reading it wasn't really my forte, but most newspapers are kind of the same wherever you go. You can tell where the top of a newspaper is based on like the heading.
Yeah.
He's reading this newspaper and sitting there kind of just like occasionally looking at the street. And he's like, what do you see? And I'm like, why is it upside down? He goes, bingo. He goes, you know what you have when you roll a newspaper up? A stick. You know what happens when you fold it in half? It's a brick. I'm like, oh shit. He goes, look at that guy. And this dude walking with a cane, stuff like that. And I'm like, he's not limping. Like, he's not leaning on the cane. He goes, a cane is a big ass stick with a hook on the end of it.
Yeah.
He's like, nothing here everybody's armed. Everybody's armed all the time. It's just a part of the culture. He's like, even if you have no idea what any of the Filipino martial arts is, everybody usually has a pocket knife of some type, or they're carrying like cleavers or machetes because of work. He's like, and that was an eye opener. I mean, that was huge in the beginning. Sam says he does kickboxing, but looking to do other styles eventually. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, get into it, because there's a ton of stuff that you could do and learn and process. And it's cool because, that old saying, like iron sharpens iron. If you have a legitimately functional martial art and you have a legitimately functional martial art on this side, you start training them, you will see facets, kind of like what Bruce Lee did. Stripping away all the like upper layers and getting down to like the meat at the bottom, and you get that, that like what works and what doesn't. And that's, for me, that's the best part of it. Every time I go into a new school or a new studio to train, or, hit the mat for the first time someplace, I always strap a white belt on my waist, and because I want to learn the process. I want to learn it from the ground up. I want to learn, whatever. And dude, periodically somebody will go, "You're not a white belt, bitch." And, and it's like, well, I'm a white belt here today. Because to me, like stepping on the mat for the first time, someplace that's new and something I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I might have similar or compatible skills, but I want to learn the way you do it. I want to learn the way you train it from the ground up, so that I can be more functional with what you're doing than just trying to shoehorn my stuff into it. You know what I mean? So like, and it's fun that way. So yeah, good times. Every once in a while, you get cookies.
Every once in a while, you get cookies. But this, you made me think about it. Some of the guys that you have used in the books, I guess, for kind of a deeper understanding of things, have been a lot of guys, Green Berets. I mean, some really serious guys. Shrek McPhee was one of them.
Yep.
Matter of fact, you guys are the one that introduced me to the Sheriff of Baghdad.
How cool is that, right?
I was listening to the after action report, and I was like, I got to look this dude up. And that dude, he's a wild man.
He's a wild man. He just started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
He did. Matter of fact, that's what made me think about it, because he'll go, he's on the road training all the time. I've heard him talk, man. He's trying to hit up, a BJJ studio at least like 2 times a week or whatever it is. And he's always somewhere new. Because the way he's traveled.
The great thing about it, and the great thing about martial arts in general, especially like Filipino martial arts, is the what it's doing for your joints, what it's doing for your body in general. Like I see guys who are my age, and it's like, they have kids or grandkids or whatever, and you see somebody drop a toy or a pacifier, and they're like, whoa, it sounds like somebody murdering a box of Rice Krispies. It's like, hold on, Grandpa, don't hurt yourself. I'll get it for you, and it's like, oh, I don't know how you have this kind of energy and blah, blah, blah. It's because I train all the time, dude. It's because I train constantly, and like, I look at guys like I admire, like Jean-Jacques Machado, right, who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or the legend, Dan Inosanto, right? And now his son-in-law, Ron Balicki. And of course, if you've seen like some of the Star Wars shows, Ron's wife, Diana, which is Dan's daughter, was the main villain in like season 2 or 3 or something like that of The Mandalorian, right? So like, these are major martial arts figures, right? Who like Dan started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when he was 62. And like, you look at him now, and he's still teaching Filipino martial arts, and he moves like liquid lightning through a bottle. A guy I came up training with off and on for the Philippines. One of the predominant styles that I really enjoy doing is called Pakiti Tershakali. And the owner of that system is Leo Gahe, former Filipino Marine. He was commandant of the training course, the hand-to-hand training course over there for the Marines. And he's not a young guy anymore. He's in his 80s. He still trains,
still getting out rolling on the mat.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And like, we see guys come into the schools all the time, and it's like, well, I'm old, I can't do this. No, you're only can't do this because you say you can't. Get your ass out here. Oh no, I'll get hurt. Yeah, because you think you're going to. Get out here and let us do what we do, because we're professionals. Trust me. And like, we had this one guy, he was 62 when he started, real heavy set, big dude, well over 6 feet, lost 120 pounds, grappling with us, and now he's 65, 66. And he's getting ready to test. I mean, he's beating me. I'm only a blue belt. He's getting ready to test for his purple, and it's like, he's going to pass. Yeah, he's going to pass me by, no problem. And if you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not like, some of these mom and pop places down in the way. You don't get yellow belt, your second rank for just showing up every day for a month. Like, there are years between these ranks, so you can assimilate and apply these things. But like, he's in his 60s and he's doing it. What's stopping you?
I've seriously thought about getting my daughter and son involved in it, and me getting involved in it myself.
Hell yeah.
Just because BJJ seems like one of the things that I mean, hell, I've watched, Horace Gracie fight people in the past where he thought he was getting smoked, and all of a sudden the other guy's tapping out.
Now, it's the same thing as like actual fighting as a soldier, and like some of the stuff we write about in the books, where you have to apply the correct tool to the correct problem at the correct time. Like, and you see that a lot, especially in Forgotten Ruin, because if you look at the first Forgotten Ruin book, you have a list of people in the beginning, right? And those were all technical advisors on those books, right? Like, the reason the Green Beret stuff is pretty cool is because we had Green Berets as technical advisors for the books.
Yeah.
We had 3 Ranger qualified dudes feeding us intel on those books, so like, it's the same thing with like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I went to a seminar, 7-8 years ago now. And, the coach I usually deal with was there, and he's like, "Hey, we have this asshole who's being a prick. Can you tune him up? Do what you do?" I'm like, "Do you really want to do that at a seminar?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't take this kid anymore." I was like, "All right." So we get on the mat, I get him in guard, right? So if you're not familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, guard is when I'm on my back, you have me on the ground, and I have my legs wrapped around your hips, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is to control the other guy's hips so you can't post up and beat the crap out of me or lift me up and slam me, right? So I got him in guard, and he's being a prick. He's trying to like wedge fingers. He's trying to like poke into pressure points. So I bit him.
Hey, it works. It's always got
he freaked out. So then as he's freaking out, he's trying to get away from me. So we have this tool that it's called a shock knife. It's basically a taser shaped like a knife, so that people who are learning knife survival can see what it really feels like. Because we can turn this thing up to like 50, 75,000 volts, right? And if you get hit, it stings. It might leave like a little red mark. It's not going to hurt you, So I had that in my back, and I flipped that thing on. I start stabbing him. This kid thought he was being murdered on the mat. He got up like a little bitch, ran away from me instead of trying to fight for that knife. So
lesson to learn.
I mean, so once again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a great martial art that is great for anaerobic exercise. Like, like keeping your heart and your motor running that way, but just keep in mind, if somebody's got some tools on them that you don't need or don't want, you better have your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game on point, or know how to deal with a knife, a gun, somebody's teeth poking you in the eyes, reaching for your groin, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, Nick posted a pretty nasty knife today on X. And me, Kentucky Squirrel, and a bunch of other guys were talking, and I don't know, you probably know about them, Shiv Works.
Yeah, I know Shiv Works. Yep.
And I'd posted on there. I'd love to go take a class with it, because
do it.
I mean, that's freaking insane. Watching a lot of the stuff that they do, especially in vehicles and close quarters, it's man, there's a lot to that shit.
And the thing is, once again, it's and we try to put this in the books as much as possible. Right tool, right problem, right time, right?
Yeah.
So like, for example, karambit, right? So this is just a trainer, right? This is based off the Fox karambit, right? A karambit this size, this is not a fighting tool.
Yeah.
This is a get away from me tool, right? This is, I'm entering a building. I have to do room clearing because I can't destroy the building to get the bad guys. I need something in the building without destroying the structure. So now I have to go room to room, assess the problem, address the idea of finding this asshole, and then egress with him so that we can get whatever information we need or take him out, right? So knife this size is for when I enter a room and get pushed up against a wall and cannot access my main firearm.
Yeah, that's
Yep, exactly. Is that James Williams?
No, this is a CRKT that's just open and assist. It's got really nice weight to it.
Yep, that's a James Williams design.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
Hell, I didn't even know.
James Williams is a guy that does like samurai style martial arts.
Yeah.
And That's the blade dynamic on that. But the same thing, right? Something like this is for, pull, right? Push the guy out of the way, let him see a little blood, move him away from you, get him off of your whatever, and then you draw your next weapon system or re-engage with your rifle so that you can get back on the X and get back to work, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking like, like bigger knives, I mean, I have to back up for this. Something like this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. This is for killing pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So hunting and killing pigs, and then of course, as far as like getting into like, actually dealing with a major threat, you start getting into some of the more wild stuff, for example, like a kukri.
Yeah.
This is a traditional one. I have one by a really cool designer, Jason Knight, up on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't reach it with my headset. Correct tool, correct time, and applied to the proper problem.
Because that's like carrying that. This is a get off me.
That's a get off me.
If I can't get to the waist to pull something else.
Yep.
Then
the ones on the wall, same thing. Like you look at that, the one that's in frame, that's a side belt sword that was made to be worn indoors. That was like that's the Japanese equivalent of carrying a Derringer.
Yeah.
So like and you see like what Nick posted posted today. Krembit started as farming tool. From Indonesia, then pushed through the Philippines. Filipino martial arts community really ran with it. You got guys like we're going to be training with Steve Tirani, former CIA asset, former government protection specialist. He was the guy that kind of brought this style knife to America. And we signed him to a book deal. So
nice.
Yeah. Him and his business partner. It should be coming out in August. I think I have the cover here. I can show you guys.
Dude, again, the amount of like technical advisors and you guys get and the quality of them is just unreal.
It's insane. It's insane. I mean, just look at the front of the Forgotten Ruin book, and it gives you the kind of people we're used to dealing with. And then, you look at like some of the people we've talked to in our after action reviews. I really wanted to talk to Pat Mack, but he blew me off.
Yeah.
No problem. He's busy. But like John McPhee was like, dude, I'd love to talk to you guys.
McPhee seems like a riot, man. I'd love to go hang out with that dude.
He's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. He's like, listen, I got these ideas I want to float by you guys, but I just want to tell you they're my ideas, and I wouldn't mind publishing them with you. But if you steal my shit, I'll fucking kill you. Right? I was like,
sounds like a McPhee move.
This is my guy.
Right? Dude, you got to be that level of crazy to pull off the missions he pulled off all on his own, running around in the Indian territory the whole way. Him talking about being at that checkpoint, getting out and just acting retarded, making all kinds of noises to get through the checkpoint was hysterical.
Was it that great? He was a great. He was fun. He was fun. But like, I mean, it's all just like some of the people that we deal with.
Yeah.
And then when we brought in Mark Sibley, the Mongol Moon author, he brought in this like whole batch of like goon Twitter, and that's how we ended up with our media relations manager, Squirrel Matador, Demp. Have you seen him?
I don't think I've seen him yet.
Oh, dude, he's a riot. I won't give him away, but like, yeah, look him up, man.
With that look on your face, I know I'm gonna love him.
He's fun. He's a fun dude. But like, I mean, we ended up, cross-pollinating with a lot of different things. Like you got Doc Spears, who's our Green Beret guy.
Doc's another hell of a dude.
Doc's a hell of a dude, right? He's somebody you can approach as an author with Wargate. Like, hey, I need to know this thing about shooting. The guy's forgotten more about shooting than most of us will ever learn.
Doc's another dude. Now that you mentioned, I'd love to talk to him too.
Send him a note.
There was another book series that he got that got me into, and I can't remember whether it was the Reaper series. Anyway, there was another one, and there's, like I say, there's also that cross pollination going on in between the writers and stuff. And yeah, you guys have cost me a hell of a lot of money because it's just like I can't give it up fast enough.
And that's the thing too. Like, we have readers. We'll release a book to the insiders on Friday because they get everything first.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to be shutting that program down so that if you're an insider now, you will remain an insider as long as you keep your subscription active.
Yeah.
But we will not be taking on new subscribers unless we have a consensus from a good batch of the insiders who are current to say, this guy is cool, let him in. So it's all going to be word of mouth. Yep. So we have guys who are on our insiders program that get everything first. And that's Nick is actually putting the finishing touches on Strange Company 3 right now so that we can release it to the insiders before it goes and gets published. We'll release that on a Friday, and I swear to God, no matter how big the book is, Friday night somebody would be like, dude, I'm done. It was awesome. Where's the next one? Bitch, do you know what it took to get you this one?
Yeah. Sure. And that's the thing with the amount of detail and everything you guys put in books, with how the books flow, with the way the characters are. It's not some just crank them out, print and press, cookie cutter stories. And obviously, all stories are going to follow a theme. Those themes have been out there forever. But I mean, it was like Galaxy's Edge with Star Wars, to go back to that. Star Wars has been done, but here's Galaxy's Edge comes in, actually has some balls. And they blow Star Wars out of the water.
Out of the water.
I mean, just nukes them.
Yep. I had such a fun time reading that first season. I was like, this is what writing should be. This is the kind of fun you should have when you're writing and reading. And this is just awesome. So, and I can't thank Jason and Nick enough. I mean, they not only put up with my antics, but, they've been amazing mentors. And
they definitely seem like Nick's always posting on, X. Hey, write the book. Just write it. Don't try to go back and edit it in time. Just write the book. Yep. Once you finish it, then go back through and try to do the edits and stuff. What are you doing, Google? Yeah, then go back in and try to do the edits and stuff. And it's just, it's just cool. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of authors I've been exposed to who will go through and do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or spend the amount of time with the fans and everything.
I mean, in the beginning, they were like interacting with fans on the podcast every week.
Yeah, I didn't know about the podcast. Squirrel told me about it. Yeah, well, he asked me about it the other day and was like, "Hey, did you ever catch your podcast?" Like, no, I didn't know it existed.
Yep.
Until my buddy got me hooked on him, I had no idea.
We were doing it twice a month. We did one just for the insiders and then one for everybody. Just kind of like the insider program now. The insiders are for those who, throw a little, loot toward the creators to keep the lights on, and everybody else, you get your, everybody else gets the books when they get published, regular, so that everybody wins.
We're doing our best to get Jason to write the KTF Me short story, at least, with Masters and DDOW, and
they've been trying for years. But like,
we're going to keep trying too.
Keep trying. Yeah. That's like, everybody keeps asking me like, Underspire, where's number 2? And I'm like, talk to Jason and Nick. They got me working on other stuff.
Because that's one of the questions I was going to ask you tonight, because Underspire is kind of a branch off the story, but it circles right back in, but you could easily branch right back off there.
We have the next 2 books outlined.
Nice.
So when they tell me it's cool to launch, I'll just start writing.
Good deal. Yeah.
And
that's another thing me and a buddy were talking about the other day is, we got the high value target. Man, where's this book? Well, hey, Underspire, where's this next book?
I mean, and Nick approached me. He's like, listen, I want to do a bridge between book 6 and 7. And we want them to deal with what's under the city, bringing all this undead up.
Yeah.
Can you do something, blah, blah, blah. And I said, this is what I want to do. Is this cool? And he's like, oh yeah, run with it. So I start sending him the first couple of chapters, and he calls me and he's like, is this somebody you know? This sounds like the voice, like everything, the way it's coming. It sounds like you have this character down. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been working with him for 15 years. He's a friend of mine. We were in Iraq together. We were, we were in this place together. We were in that place together. I said, yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's like, can you get him to write something that says he's a friend of yours for the book? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Rock and roll. So if you look at the end of the, it's in the ebook and it's in the print. There's a message from Dom saying, yeah, I know this jackwagon. So
that's nice.
But I mean, at the time I did a bunch of interviews and told people like, yeah, Dom's semi-famous. He was one of the corrections officers in that TV show Scared Straight, where they brought kids to the jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's one of the officers, that would tell kids like, oh yeah, eat that meal. It's the only one you're getting today. Blah, 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 blah. So he was the inspiration for Big Lou. That's
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole book, Underspire, again, was another just awesome book.
Thank you. Yeah.
We had Axe Rider. Who wrote the parts for Dealer?
That was a combination, I think. It started with me, and then I think Nick went into it, and then Jason finished it off. But yeah, I wanted him to be like a slimy car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah, and it fit. You could tell the sleaze coming off him the whole way. But again, he was one of those characters that just kind of sucked you in, and you wanted to see what his little crazy self was going to do next. Okay, when's he going to stab him in the back? As you're rolling through.
And what was interesting was I had somebody reach out and hit me up after the book was published, and they were like, why does the end of the book turn into X-Men? And I'm like, it's not X-Men. I'm like, have you ever played D&D? I'm like, they're drinking potions and wearing magical rings and shit like that. This is what that culture is.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't see it a lot.
Giant potions and
yep. You don't see it a lot in the main series because you're focused so much on the Rangers that they're just sprinkling all the magic in. But the idea behind the dwarves was they've been waiting 10 years to get their revenge. Uh-huh. They've been collecting all this shit. So like, if this was the only book I was going to write in Forgotten Ruin, I was going to turn this into a damn amusement park, of like, this is what some of this series is based on. And when I explained it like that, they were like, oh, all right, yeah, that makes a little more sense. But like, we got Clifton Duncan. Nick was the one, I think, who grabbed him as the narrator for that. And he just did like a hugely successful Kickstarter to publish a play about Thomas Sowell.
Thomas Sowell? Oh, nice. Or am I thinking someone else? When you said Thomas Sowell, I thought about
the entrepreneur. I believe that's what his name is. Yeah, Thomas Sowell. Sowell.
ELL. Yeah.
Yeah. So American Economist. He just did a Kickstarter where he put a play together about that guy. But like, if you listen to that book, Underspire, the range on that actor running those voices is amazing. Yeah. Like the German sounds like a German accent, Dealer sounds slimy, like it was just so much fun, so the only pickups we had to do with him was just like, and this is, I think after that book, we started doing spreadsheets with military terminology.
Yeah.
So that, like, for example, one of the big mistakes that happened, not with that book, but one of the other books that we did. Do you know what a Marine Corps medic is called?
Corpsman.
Yes.
Right?
That's not what the narrator said in the book Forget Nothing. Corpsman.
Forget Nothing was kind of, both books were kind of hard for me to listen to. If it wasn't for the fact that books were, I don't know, I just didn't, something in her voice, I just didn't jive with. If it wasn't for the fact that books were written so well, I probably wouldn't have listened to it. And that's just my little picky self. I mean, it wasn't anything against her, but there were certain things that I just,
but like certain things like military terminology. So, rifle with a grenade launcher attached to the bottom. We just call that a 203, not a 203. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, he was just rocking it out of the park every single time. We were like, dude, this is amazing. He is killing it.
Yeah, he was solid.
Axe Rider sounded like a tough guy. I mean, it's just great. He was great.
Yeah,
he's doing. He's the
one. The Amish bikers.
The Amish biker gang. That's how Nick described the dwarves. That's why it was in there. Because Nick was just like, I want these guys to act like Amish biker gang. I'm like, all right, I got you, homie. But like Clifton is actually going to be doing wreck jumpers.
Nice.
So yeah, it's legit. So what other questions you got?
All right. And we'll end it after this. Couple of questions. Mm-hmm. One,
lightning round.
Do you carry every day for self-defense? A firearm.
A firearm?
Yeah.
Depends where I'm going. If I'm out with the dogs, and I have more than one, no. Just because I don't want they get high strung when they see a squirrel. Yeah. I don't need a leash to carry around to get around my pistol grip. Possibly either dislodge or blah 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 blah. So no, I don't. I don't carry everywhere I go. But go ahead.
Yeah. How do you typically carry when you do carry?
I'll tell you that offline.
Gotcha.
So I like the idea of concealed carry being concealed carry. So like, those guys who walk out in like Walmart and they got like, the giant revolver on their hip. When I walk outside, I don't want you to know I'm an ex-soldier. I don't want you to know I'm armed. I don't want you to know this. I don't want you to know that. For me, concealed is concealed, and that's how we roll.
That's if you're going to carry concealed, that's the way it should be. 100%.
Yeah, especially in the state that I live in. Rhode Island is on the precipice of trying to go full authoritarian by stripping all. They want to do what Massachusetts did and make it so that you cannot purchase a semi-automatic firearm. So
and that's one question I was going to ask you, because I keep up with a lot of the gun laws in all the states. Like how last night we streamed Colorado for 4 hours while they went through some stuff, and the day before that we were streaming some of that. And I was going to ask you what the laws are like up there for you.
They were fairly lax up until a few years ago when we started getting a mass of shootings through the first Trump administration and the Biden administration. They have since gone on to be more stringent. They've violated the state constitution with the last two laws that they published. So we're currently fighting those in the courts. Although one of them was made easier because Reese v. ATF was just published from the Supreme Court. I believe it was the 5th District. And they just said that you cannot preclude 18 to 20-year-olds from owning a firearm or a pistol because it was 18 to 20-year-olds that built this country through military service. So, you're basically stripping the rights. And that's one of the things they did here. So with that decision, the courts here are being forced to relook at some of the laws that were passed in Rhode Island. And one of them is a ban on all firearms ownership under the age of 21, which I can see to an extent, but I need it to be fair. Now, my personal opinion is if you are old enough to sign up for selective service and are be treated as an adult, you are forced to pay taxes, you are forced to sign up for health care, you're forced to do all this stuff. That means you are a full adult in the eyes of the law, and as an adult, you should have the right to protect yourself with whatever firearm you deem necessary for the task, right? That's my personal belief. Yeah. But if you're going to pass these laws that says somebody under 21 cannot own a firearm, then that's not an adult. So because you're removing one of their rights from them. Mm-hmm. So if the right is being removed because they're not an adult, now people might be watching this and being like, "Oh shit, he's getting fired up about this." You should also know that
you're in the right place.
Well, I testify every year in front of the Rhode Island Senate. Right? If you go online and look up my name and like testifying in front of the Rhode Island Senate or the House Judiciary Committee, I'm there every year. You can see videos of me talking about this stuff. So that being said, if you are going to, in the eyes of the law, say that somebody under the age of 21 is not conducive to making good, sound, moral, and adult decisions, that means they can't get an abortion, they shouldn't get his checks changed, they can't vote, they can't do this, they shouldn't be paying taxes. So all this stuff also has to be in play. It can't be fair. A thing on one side and not on the other. So like every year we go down there and fight it out. And 2 years ago, this real dirtbag, Senator Coyne, bypassed the judiciary and rushed a batch of laws, including that one, to the floor for a vote. And they tried to do it again with the assault weapons ban, and they're trying to push it and blah, blah, blah. But makes no here or there because I'm only going to be a Rhode Island resident for the next few months. And then after that, I'm out. Nice. Because I'm done paying my tax money. And I pay a ridiculous amount of taxes. I am done paying my tax. Oh, it's ridiculously expensive up here. I pay my mortgage in addition to my mortgage and taxes every month.
Yeah.
Right. So that being said, I am not going to give money to people who are going to work against my self-interest and against the interest of my community. Instead, I would rather be part of a different community that says this, and this are important. We will support those things and we won't bother you otherwise. So Rhode Island.
If you don't mind me asking, where you plan on blasting off to?
Middle of the country. So probably, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, somewhere in that noise.
Yeah.
Not Texas, though. That shit's too expensive. I'll try and save some money.
The bad thing is that the same stuff you're fighting up there in Rhode Island is coming everywhere.
Yep.
People don't realize you have a couple of groups that write all these bills, and then they just pass them out to all these different legislatures. I mean, they're like making it rain in a strip club.
It's terrible.
But one of the things to people, and then they just push it through. And
one of the things we're seeing with this presidency is a little more transparency. And one of the things that is going to make it easier to defeat a lot of this legislation is that we're seeing groups like Moms Demand Action, Bloomberg Group, Giffords. Mm-hmm. We're receiving healthy grants from the United States government, which is against a whole load of laws. So with hopefully the trickle effect of, all that money raining down off the mountain and then going into these little streams of all these groups who are trying to restrict our rights. If we cut off that rainfall, hopefully those groups will dry out for the most part. But one of the senators said today, well, one of the problems you have is that the pro-Second Amendment community is not as prolific in pushing their rights forward as the anti-Second Amendment community. And it's like, a bunch of us got on to the Speaker of the House, who was the one who made the comment. And we were like, listen, Dick, the reason that they're so prolific is they're getting money from all these groups who are getting money from the United States, illegally. So, we need to have a conversation. So, but like I said, it's not going to be my problem because I'm done paying the amount of taxes that I pay and receiving nothing in return.
Well, I mean, you're receiving something in return, but you're receiving it out without dinner, without lube,
And a sandpaper
without a
condom.
good night hug. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Receiving
that.
it all right.
So, but yeah, I'm fairly pro Second Amendment. But one caveat is that I tell people all the time, you know, if you want to shop for a gun and you want to shop for your first time firearm, I will go with you. I will help you
Yeah.
shop for one. I will help you figure out what is right for you with the kind of, you know, expression of that Second Amendment that you feel is right for you. But I will make sure you get training before you ever purchase your first firearm, because there's not a lot that I mean, I go to the range multiple times per month, multiple times, and that doesn't include the training I do. Will you buy it from me too, Run Gun Business? Does he sell firearms? We'll talk.
No, he said, will you buy it for me?
Oh, we buy it for you. That would require a load of money I don't have right now, because you did hear me saying I'm getting raked in taxes from Rhode Island, right? But like, you know, we'll go to the range all the time, and the amount of untrained people I'm seeing at the range is ridiculous. You know,
I hate public ranges.
You know, well, we go, a lot of the stuff we do for training. So I did, like we said earlier, I was in the military for multiple years. I routinely take seminars, courses, train personally with high level firearms instructors, because I want to stay on my game. But at the same time, right? A lot of those times when we're doing those, we're using like simunitions, or using air rifles, air guns, airsoft, all that stuff. So we can do some of the crazy stuff, like climb through a window, address a target, climb to a roof, set up a hide to you know, address at long range, or cover a certain sector, or blah 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 blah. Right? We're doing all this stuff. Can't do that at range, right? So there are times when I need to get my reps in with real gunpowder. So we'll go to a range. There's a range we like because we could do, you know, pretty much everything, shoot everything that we have pretty much. But periodically, man, like I saw some guy flagging dudes left and right. And I'm like, oh, bro, listen, barrel has to stay that way. Yeah, but what does it matter? Nope. Either it stays that way, or I go get him and he pulls you off this range.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not the way this has to happen. You know, but I really wish people would get more training. And like, one of the things I would love to do, once again, not conducive really in my state because it's very anti-Second Amendment. We had this guy, Madge Torre, come down to the Senate.
Yeah, I know. I follow Mosh.
Yep. So, I mean, you know, he's like, look, if you're not going into the inner cities and pulling out a BB gun and then showing firearm safety or promoting good Second Amendment culture in every part of your state, not just the state, not just the city where you live, then you're failing the Second Amendment.
I will tell you this: if you were ever on an online meeting, and I can't remember whether it was with Brady or Giffords, and you mentioned mentioned Maj, they will kick you out of a chat in less than 3 seconds flat.
Well, I mean, you know, but he's right. You know, gun control started as a racist practice. You know, and it's a practice of, but you know, it started in this country as a racist practice. But if you look back all the way back in the day, you know, how did you control a population? You made sure they couldn't fight you.
Yep.
You know, it started back in the days. Yeah. I mean, look at the Okinawans. You know, when they were taken over by the Japanese, they couldn't own swords, right? They couldn't own whatever, right? So what they would do is they would learn to fight with the farming tools and then abscond real weapons, right? They'd beat the crap out of you with a freaking, you know, like a wheat thresher, knock you down, steal your swords, and take off.
Well, right? Scotland was that way. I mean, hey, you can't have this, can't have that. Okay, I'm going to hit you with a giant rock, and I got a few of those laying around.
That's how those Highland Highland games came about, you know. But like, you know,
well, speaking of, let's hit one more thing, and then we'll get out of here. I'll hit you backstage for just a second. But speaking of game, so you and Nick are all the time over on Twitch.
Yep.
I finally caught one of you guys' streams the other day. How big of a gamer are you? How does that fit into Walt's life?
I used to be a lot bigger than I am now.
Yeah.
Um, but because of running my own publishing company, and then because of I had an actual career and then a military career, it took a backseat for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nick was like, "Hey, come play Call of Duty with us after work." I'm like, okay, So like, I enjoy gaming, but at the same time, what's Barton saying? Just think how much of that USAID money went to Soros and all those crap anti-gun orgs. Just think of 1/10 of that money went to public gun range. Exactly. And like, here's the thing, right? The legislation that they're posing in Rhode Island would cut the amount of shooting that we do probably down to 1/10 of what it is now. But there's a law in Rhode Island, which they don't care about, that says that public parks, public land, public fisheries, like all that stuff is funded through the gun ranges. Yeah. So if you're not taking tax money through those ranges, through those purchases of licenses, ammunition, all this stuff, then that tax money is going to have to come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
And people don't realize you buy a box of ammo, your money's going to the feds, it's going to paying for game wardens, it's going to paying for land uses and all this other stuff. And people don't realize that.
Yep. And, if we had more free gun ranges, not just free gun ranges, but like ranges in general in Rhode Island, and promote a positive shooting culture, not just kids running around with Glock switches,
Oh, those are bad.
Shooting. I mean, I'm not a big fan of a fully automatic pistol. Automatic rifle, different story. But automatic pistol, I'm not a big fan of them. They're clumsy. You're more likely to shoot a friend than you are your actual target, unless you're
you're
really
definitely not
trained.
All that accurate with it. I mean, you can control it to a point if you've got good grip stance.
At that point, it's a suppressing weapon. But if you really want to suppress, do it with a rifle with the adequate amount of ammunition and feeding device comparable to the task versus 60 rounds in a whatever, and that stuff's garbage. But do
you guys have any mag limits up there right now?
10 rounds. Yeah, it went into it went into effect the same time as the 18 to 20-year-old ban. So
I mean, these are so much more dangerous than 10-round mags. It's five more dangerous.
We tried to tell people, but they rammed it through, and because Rhode Island is a Democrat controlled state, and don't get me started. But as far as gaming,
trust me, you're in the right place to get started.
I'm in the right place. Yeah.
Because we can hang out and talk about that forever.
But gaming, I love single player games more than I do multiplayer games. But all my friends play multiplayer games, so I kind of got to jump in. But we started that channel as a way to have Nick talk about the books.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just not two talking heads just sitting there talking about the books. We can actually have some entertainment value. The problem is once we get him in, he is such a DMZ junkie. Getting him to talk about the books is really, really hard.
you guys were hysterical to sit there and watch, man.
Oh, man.
I wish I knew Nick was doing it, a while ago, and I just never got in there to actually, listen and watch for a little bit. But last Friday, matter of fact, last Friday, I watched the one from the previous Friday and then watched most of last Friday. And you guys had me in stitches.
Oh my God, it's funny. And they really bust my chops. They bust my chops all the time. Like Nick will send me things throughout the day, right? Because he's a ball buster. He's funny. And he's like, he sends me this thing and he's like, hey, your ancestors ended up on the cover of Time magazine. Like, really? Like bricklayers from Sicily? Like, what are we talking? He sends me a picture, and it's freaking Mario on the cover, right? From Mario Brothers. And I'm like, you bastard. So I was like, here, I fixed it for you. And this is what I posted to him. You want to run that noise? All right. I'll embrace this shit. Don't get me started. You know, but
that's
like,
the fun thing about dealing with guys like that, because
they're
they don't
awesome.
mind being hit back. You can hit them back. It is great.
Yep. And like I said, we have a good crew, and like all of the readers that hang out with us and stuff like that. Like, you know, we got a private Discord for gaming, so that you know, guys who want to come in and game can come and do it. We have the Galaxy's Edge Discord, but most of us don't hang out over there just because it's very busy. So like getting in there and trying to sift through, like it there's a lot going on in that Discord. So we're just like, where do I jump in? What do I talk with? Who am I talking to? You know, because these books ain't gonna write themselves. But like, yeah, we have a good time with the readers and stuff like that. Guys will come out and game with us and do whatever. And we try and get as many people as we can. It's just finding the right game where everybody can get together. Like we were doing Arma for a while. But it wasn't as fast paced or, you know, as like funny. You know, it was very tactical. So like there's a place for it. It just probably isn't on Twitch. You know,
now,
or like,
are you guys gaming PC or are you gaming console?
The guy that games with us, Brother B, that's my brother, right? So,
okay, he's one who had a jacked up jaw a week or so ago.
Yep, yeah, he messed his jaw up. So that kid's always he's always breaking himself. But at one point, he was like 14th in the world on Call of Duty.
Good Lord.
Yeah, he is really good. And then, of course, you know, there's Nick, who's constantly hysterical. And he's like, you know, we'll be driving in the game and we'll be like, all right, we're going to this objective right here, right now. This is what we're doing. He's like, yeah, there's players over there. Change of mission. I'm like, fuck.
Yep. That's the way it looked watching. And that made me want to get back into gaming so bad, because for years when I was younger, man, I loved it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to jump in, do you got a PC that can handle, you know, basic level games?
No, that's the thing, man. I've got to get into the PC master race at some point.
Yeah, or like an Xbox or something like that.
Yeah, I've got the 3 or the 1 sitting up there, but
I believe
I got to update my stuff. Let's put it that way.
With the Xbox One, you can play DMZ with us.
Oh, nice.
And it's free.
Sweet. I'm gonna have to see whether I can get everything loaded up and see if I can harass you guys a little bit, because it's hysterical watching you guys play. It's like a clown car with you guys going down the road.
We had about a month ago. So there's this guy on Twitter, Jeff Canada, and he's a big fan of Strange Company.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always put out on a Friday like a little marquee that says, hey, we're gaming at this time and blah, blah, blah. So we're storming the airport on DMZ, right? We enter the airport. We're starting to take down the AI. We know players are coming. All of a sudden I hear hot soup. I'm like, what? Did that motherfucker just say hot soup? And I hear it again, hot soup. It was Jeff who game sniped us, managed to get in the server at the same time as us. And then Brother B, my brother, shoots him, kills him right there, right? Now, luckily, we could revive him. And I'm like, wait a minute, hot soup? He's like, it's me, it's Jay Canada. I'm like, get that guy up. And we had a great time like playing.
Yeah, because you guys were hunting Larry, and one of the ones I watched, you guys were hunting Larry Correa. Or
we
at
were
least looking for him.
We were looking for him, but it's hard to get into a server at the same time. You got to know when they're going in and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, but like Larry is a huge DMZ player. He like routinely gets like 9 to 13 player kills. I'm lucky if I get one, you know, because I'm like, I'm like, I don't have that kind of time.
Dude, that'd probably be me getting back into it. I'd get smoked on every round.
Yeah, well, hook in with us. We'll safeguard you till you get the skills and the drills necessary to do what's
Bring
necessary.
Jerry's kid with you. Pointing and goes that way.
Would it be the first time we got somebody into the game and then they surpassed us and been like, "We'll save you, old man"? And it's like, oh, what the hell? That just happened. So
just go choke them.
Absolutely.
Can I slap you through this headphone?
Oh, I love being an old man now because like I'll hit the jiu-jitsu mat, get on some 18-year-old, and you know we're grappling. You know he's trying to get chokes or whatever, and then all of a sudden, you know the old fat bald midget jumps up and does a flying armbar, and the look on their faces is priceless. The fact that you tap them out is even better. And then when they get up, they're like, "Yeah, but aren't you old?" And it's like, yeah, but aren't you young? Shouldn't you have been able to see that coming and or defend against it? Good luck there, kiddo. You know.
That's when you tell them the older the bull, the stiffer the horns.
He rode it all the way into or rather, I rode it all the way into the mat. So good luck there, homie. He did not have a good morning after that. They busted his balls relentlessly. Do you know how old he is? Like they keep him around just to, like it's like old Arm and Hammer in the refrigerator. He's just here to soak up the molds. Like, what the hell? He beat you? I'm like, oh yeah, let him have it, guys. Let him have it.
Oh yeah, so, I bet you that is a ball busting freaking just have a good time. And as long as the dude can, if the dude can take it, that's great. If he can't take it, he probably doesn't need to be there in the first place. Just
if he can't take it, I want to
walk it off.
Yeah, if he can't take it, I want to wrestle him every time. Yep. So
that's about the way it should work too.
And the thing is, like, I'm not a Superman. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm better than average. But at the same time, I'm not going to win every time.
Yeah.
But I will step on the mat every time. I will come after you every time. I might not win, but I'm still coming. You know, it's like being a honey badger, right?
Yeah. A guy like you that train that way all the time. I've never heard one of them go, "I'm going to win every single match." Almost everyone's going to tell you. Nope. There's going to be something happen. Someone's going to have some sort of arm bar. They're going to slip something in. You're going to lose that match. Yep. It's just the way it works.
I can't tell you how many times I've been choked out, like so much so that I'm surprised I don't have brain damage. You know, but like I get on the mat every time. I don't care. I love it. You know, if we're doing full contact stick fighting, so we wear field hockey gloves and fencing masks, and that's it. And we use rattan sticks, and we beat the snot out of each other. And every single time, if somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, old man, you want to go?" and it's like, yes. And then I grab my fencing mask, and my fencing mask is painted with the face of Venom, and it's got like a little rubber tongue that sticks out the front. Just because I want you to be concentrating on something other than my stick smashing you in the shin, you know, or the fact that like I'll crash stick to stick and get inside and then pick you up and do a belly to belly, which is kind of like picking somebody up and then trying to jump backwards as you roll over and then land on them. And that way, once I get you on the ground and you're disoriented from hitting that way, now I have the puño, the butt of the stick in my hand, and I'm trying to dent your fencing mask in as hard as I can. You know, now granted, have there been times where somebody has reached up, grabbed my own stick, and hit me with it? Yep. You know, have I broken a finger? Do you ever use the tongue to tickle their nose? No, but I would sometimes, like if I'm hitting somebody with my mask to mask, like doing a headbutt, I'll make the sound like, you know, like Venom licking somebody else. Yeah, you get pissed. You know, have I been knocked out doing that stuff? Oh yeah, several times. You know, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There's like a scar, an old scar that rates across my thumb.
Yeah, you can barely see it. Yeah.
Yep. I was running a match, and or I was in a match, and I went for a block over my head, an umbrella block. So basically, like the stick is aimed this way, and this enemy stick hits this way and slides off. So I had my other hand braced so that the stick would be braced against my forearm, and my thumb was sticking out because they're field hockey gloves. They're really, really stiff.
Yeah.
And this kid did what's called a fan strike. In Tagalog, it's abanico, right? It's where you come this way. It's where you come this way and then flip the stick the other way right before it makes contact. So now you're hitting on the opposite side of the target you were aiming for, and it's a way to like get around an opponent's defenses. Yeah. And I got whacked in the thumb, and I kept fighting and stuff like that. And then, I get off the thing and I walk up to the medic and I'm like, "Hey, I don't want to take my glove off because it feels like pins and needles in my thumb. Can you cut my glove off?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we'll see what we got." And the second they reached the thumb with the pair of shears, just all this blood fell out of my glove. Yep. He had trauma shears. He cut up the glove, and then just all this blood just dumped out of my glove. He had split my thumb like a hot dog. You ever put a hot dog in the microwave and it goes, yep. That's what my thumb looked like. So I was like, shit. So yeah, I've gotten tuned up more than my share, but man, I think there is no greater feeling on the planet than running your knuckles into somebody's face. That is my favorite thing on the planet. And I mean, when I can put it in a book, I will, but the danger of putting it in a book is doing it as a movement list.
Yeah.
He punched this way, and then he did this, and then he blocked this way, and then he blocked this way. You still have to write it so that it's interesting and fun and flows, as opposed to like on camera, you can sort of see everything John Wick is doing when he's doing his John Wickness. So
yeah, that's like one of the scenes in Galaxy's Edge. When Bombassa and the troops were trying to get to the Corvette to stop it from leaving, and the dude in the black armor knife gets up there, he gets shot, he doesn't feel it, he stabs one, and I mean, just goes through the whole range of motions in that fight, and it just made you absolutely believe that guy was an absolute animal. But it flowed, it made sense when you were, for me, listening. It actually made sense.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do. You want to write those scenes so that they make sense, so that they flow, so that it's exciting, and one scene leads into another versus a list of movements that is just, at that point, it's a recipe. You're being boring.
Yeah.
So yeah, get into it, get after it.
Let's get out of here for the evening, brother. It has been great. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on, where they can follow you on X, all that.
You can follow me on X. I don't even know what my X handle is anymore.
I have to look at it real fast.
I gotta look. So I believe I'm where am I? At KROH01. That's how you can find me on X. I sometimes post on Facebook too, but most of the time it's me, old man, posting about how much I hate Rhode Island. Which back in the day I used to love it, but I can't stand the politics anymore. You can find us on Galaxy's Edge. So if you go to galaxiesedge.us, you can figure out what we're doing, what books we're putting out, blah, 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 blah. We have a Substack, wargate.substack.com, where we put up articles, interviews, news, reviews, stuff like that. Every Monday we do a whole...
they can find you guys over at Twitch on Friday nights?
Friday nights, 8 p.m. Yep, 8 p.m. Eastern, Wargate Games. We usually wrangle Nick to play video games while we try to pin him down long enough to answer book questions. It never works out that way. It's like herding cats. I will not be there, or none of us will be there this Friday because we will be in California with Nick and Steve Tirani promoting his new book, Sword and Quill, in defense of the Second Amendment, blah, 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 blah. So he's, if you don't know who Steve Tirani is, look him up. He did many, many moons as a special protection, protection specialist for certain 3-letter agencies. He is also the guy who brought in the Karambit to the United States and made it kind of really popular back in the 80s and 90s. So
how do you spell his last name, brother?
Tarani. I believe you can even go to stevetarani.com. Yeah, you can go to stevetarani.com.
Yeah, you can. That's what just pulled up.
Mm-hmm. So, for many, many moons, he did Indonesian Pencak Silat martial arts, and the karambit is a big part of that, along with the keris, or the wavy bladed snake sword. So he did that for many, many moons. Really amazing martial artist. So, but also an amazing shooter, amazing protection specialist. So, we're going to be with him for the soft launch of his book. So if you go out and go to where the event is going, I believe you get the book, you get to meet Steve. We're going to be on hand, obviously. I guess I'm going to have to shave. It's very rough, but yeah. So, I mean, look us up, find us, talk to us on X, talk to us, wherever you find us, because, we just want to hear, half the time. And, this is one of Nick and Jason's big thing. They want to hear your stories, because 9 times out of 10, we're filthy, dirty vampires, and we're going to put them in books. I know that because
for me.
Hey, man, there's like 3 stories I told Nick that ended up in Strange Company 3. I'm like, that mother. And then I called the people the stories were about. I'm like, dude, you're going to be in a book. So fun.
That is so cool. And especially since you guys can draw from all that. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
All
One of the
perks, we're going to get out of here before my wife drowns me. Well, tell everybody bye, and then we're going to hit it.
Later.
And we'll do a traditional ending on this. You perks be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times. And we'll be out.
Be dangerous.